So, first of all, the Antons, the name comes from what original?
Antons,
Antonopoulos. And the Antonopoulos were from
Arcadia.
Arcadia. Arcadia. And the Tripoli or?
Tripoli,
Tripoli,
yeah.
yes. Very good. And when did the first Antons come here?
From where?
From
Arcadia.
From Arcadia?
Tripoli, yeah, from that area.
Tripoli.
They came from Tripoli well, the grandfather first came, which
Yes.
is an interesting story. He came roughly about 1920.
Yes,
And they moved to Ohio. They settled in Ohio, Canton,
Yes.
Ohio, as a matter of fact.
yes, yes.
And he stayed for about 7 years, was injured in an auto accident, and came to the conclusion that he wanted to go back to Greece. So he took my father, who was at about 9 at the time, the two daughters and the other son, my father's brother, and moved them back to a little village called Zugovisti, which
Say it again?
Zugovisti.
Zugovisti, yes, yes. I've heard of it, yes,
Dimitsana,
yes.
Rado,
Yes.
So it's-
Okay,
So anyway, it's a village. It's a postage stamp disguised as a village.
okay, yeah, okay.
But it's a lovely village.
It's
Yes.
a lovely
Very
village.
pretty.
So he was there. So he basically lived there for another 10 years. Went to high school there, went to elementary school, middle school, and high school. And then at the age of 19, decided he was going to come back to America. Borrowed $100 from his father. His father took him to Athens. He got on the ship, came here, settled in New York. And then I believe he went to Chicago for a little while.
Very
Then he
long,
came,
very
yeah,
short time.
very short time, then, because he had some cousins out there.
Right.
And he came back, lived in Chicago, and then for 5 years later, he got drafted, because he was an American citizen.
course.
So he spent 4 years in Europe, and
they
then
don't-
he finally got here in 1946 and started the life that he envisioned when he was here in 1927. Interesting.
But from Chicago, he came back to New York.
Yes,
Yes.
I said that. Yeah.
And what did he do?
At the time, almost
Professional.
everything. Almost
Everything.
everything. But basically, he worked at a soda fountain.
Yes,
He worked at a soda
Perfect
fountain, and he
legitimate,
worked
yeah.
70 hours a week. Always told the story that he had gotten out one night, and the individual didn't have enough money to pay him for his weekly salary. He says, "I'll pay you on Monday." So all he had in his pocket was 24 cents, which he was going to go to a movie. So he gets a friend who had the quarter. It was a quarter for the movie. He goes to the movie theater, he had the 24 cents, he didn't have the 25. They wouldn't let him in the movie theater. And from then on, he says, "I never forgot that penny."
If he
Great
saw a
story,
penny
great
in the
story,
street,
great story.
no matter where he
Never-
was, he would
I
pick
never
it up.
forgot that
it's the
penny.
life
He
of
always picked
immigrants.
it up.
That's
Yes,
correct. It was
yes,
the life
yes,
of immigrants.
yes. And now, Helen, what was your husband's name?
Christus.
Christos. And Christos and you met where?
We met in New York, where I lived. I was born and brought up in New York. I went to school, did all my education in New York City.
Yes.
And we met at the apartment building where I lived with my family, with my mother and father and sister. We all lived in an apartment. You know, New York is all apartments.
Yes.
And right next to us was another Greek family, and I became very friendly with their daughter. Well, their
Yes.
daughter introduced me to some of her friends,
Uh-huh.
and one of her friends was the sister of my future husband. So
There you go.
I was going out of the lobby to go to a movie, another movie,
Yes.
on a Saturday afternoon, and we met my friend's friend and brother coming into the lobby. So we stopped to say hello, and that's how we met.
There you
And
go.
that was
Wonderful,
it.
wonderful story. And then when you married, where did you move?
To Boston,
To Boston.
to Boston.
What part of Boston? I mean, what
Well,
church did you go to at the time?
Yeah, well, the first apartment we had was in Allston,
Yes.
and it was very lovely. It was a very nice apartment because they had taken two houses and made brand new apartments on not Leicester Street. I forgot the name of the
Yes.
street.
Gardner Street? Is that the
Gardner
one in
Street.
Gardner?
56 Gardner Street. As a matter
There you
of
go.
fact. Yeah, and we lived there for 3 years.
Oh,
And we had number one.
number one, yes.
So then the apartment got a little too small.
Yeah, because he's
Moved.
tall.
He was tall.
Yes.
No, he was
I can
taller.
see.
He was taller. So we had to make room for him.
Yeah.
And we moved to Brighton.
Ah, okay.
To Leicester Street in Brighton. And after Brighton, we decided forget the rentals, and we bought a house in Newton Center.
Yes,
And we
And
moved-
all that time, we were going to the cathedral.
yes.
Yes,
Most of the people that I met here,
That's it.
either Cathedral or
Watertown.
Cambridge.
Or
Cambridge.
Watertown.
Yeah, we didn't. I haven't met anybody who was in Watertown yet, but I will.
Yeah,
So,
we went to the cathedral.
so when did you hear? How old are you when you're in Newton?
When I was in Newton, we moved there, I was 5.
5, and
I was just a baby,
Two.
just
okay.
turning 2.
And then when, Helen, when did you hear that a new church was being started? Or,
Oh, we heard about it right away.
Yes.
Because we were very friendly with Dr. Deganes.
Yes,
Yes,
I'm glad you pronounced it correctly.
yes.
He
Dr.
pronounced it differently, but that's okay.
Well, I pronounced it the Greek way.
Exactly.
Who's he that pronounced it?
Tony.
Oh, Tony. Oh, you spoke
Tony,
with Tony.
yeah, Tony
Yeah.
says I'm
Tony.
Tony Dickness.
Yeah,
I said,
sure.
excuse me? Yes.
He's Tony Deganes.
He's Deganes.
Tony
Yeah.
Dickens,
We forgot
exactly,
that
yes.
he's Deganes.
He's a lovely guy. Great
He is,
guy.
absolutely.
The father and mother were absolute angels. I mean, I never met nicer people.
He was like a second
Wonderful.
father to me.
Oh,
A
this is
mentor,
great,
a father,
yes.
he was terrific.
Yeah, and
And his son, one of his youngest son is Michael Butter.
Oh, yes.
Peter.
So anyway,
So-
they you approached them, they
So-
approached you, and
I approached my
Well,
father.
Yeah,
they
of course,
approached
my
my
dad.
father. Actually, it
Chris,
was-
your father's
yes,
Chris, yeah.
Chris, yes.
And
Dr. Deganes and Angelo Bassett
yes,
were very close at the time.
correct,
And they spoke about it first.
yes,
And I don't know whether it was Dr. Deganes or Angelo Bassett who approached Chris, my husband.
yes,
And my husband jumped at it. He said, "What a wonderful idea." He says, "I'm tired of driving all the way to the cathedral
Exactly.
with 2 little children."
yes.
And then he had a little problem with one of the gatekeepers there because this little one went in the wrong door. And he was chastising. He says, "You're sitting there chastising a 3-year-old." He says, "He's just a baby." So he got very upset with that. Anyway, and he thought, it's a wonderful idea. So one
same way.
very cold February night,
Yes,
we had a meeting in the basement of that
Yes.
church. But you've already heard these stories.
Yes, yes.
so I'm repeating myself.
that's wonderful though, because
We have the count too. It was 39. It was not a
Yes.
contemporaneous account, but there were 39 people that night.
you 2 boys, I understand, know something about the cross that went on top
This
of the.
gentleman over
Oh,
here.
that was my biggest thrill. As I don't know how old I was. How
Well, you were
old?
about 5.
5 years
5 years
old.
old.
Yes.
It was my first time to a fire station and a ride on a fire truck.
Ah, lucky you. Yes.
For me,
Dream,
it actually
yes.
was because I was into trucks as a little boy.
Yes.
And we got to ride on a ladder truck, and we went to the fire station in Newton.
Yes.
They put us on the ladder truck. They drove us to the church, and we watched them put the cross up on the church that
You
Saturday
don't happen
afternoon.
to have any photographs of any of this. do
Oh
you?
no, cameras were not a big thing in my father's life, but it was just an
Unfortunately.
amazing experience for me.
Imagine.
That's true.
Yes.
But it had this enormous pipe organ originally.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
It's
Yes.
spectacular pipe organ. Majestic, probably 30 feet.
It was.
Really?
It took up the
Enormous.
entire left-hand wall.
You would have the pulpit, it's not the pulpit, where the speaker stand. They had a
Yes.
speaker stand right in front of the pipe organ. And so the priest would come out, the psalter or the
Yes,
whatever,
yes, yes.
The psalter would be there, then the priest would give the sermon from there originally.
Oh.
This is before they started coming out the center, but and right in front of, I'm telling you, it was majestic.
So, what was it like, Helen? I mean, the people that you met, the co-parishioners.
It was absolutely fantastic. We didn't,
I'm beginning to get suspicious because everybody says the same thing. Is it possible
it
that
was,
nobody is causing grief for anybody else?
no, it was like one big happy family.
You know, as
If
a
someone had a party, the whole church was invited
This
to
is
that
great.
party.
But
Yeah.
even as children, I was young, John was a little bit older, but we didn't mind going to church because in the back there was always a kickball game after church while the parents were in having their coffee. The kids were all outside
Yes.
playing. It became a big play day. we would walk to the Charles River behind it.
Yes, yes.
And throw paper boats.
Yes.
And then run to the falls to see if we could watch our boats come over the falls.
Great story. Now, do you remember anything about the picnics?
Of
Oh,
course.
the dinner on the
They were,
green.
Dinner on the green, yes.
On the
they were
green,
fantastic.
yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
I do remember one Sunday morning, my father getting up. He was always up early anyway, but he wasn't very good at cooking, even though he did in the army.
Yeah.
But potato salad was his specialty.
Yes.
And he had us downstairs in the basement. We must have peeled 50 pounds of potatoes.
Easily.
Great. Yes, yes.
And he brought, it was an old wash tub, that big
Wash tub.
old wash tub
Yeah.
full of potatoes, and he made potato salad in this big old wash tub.
That's wonderful, yes. And Gallus came after Blaguras left.
Blugor's, that was
couple
Father
of years.
Kim, I think, after
Father,
that.
we had
Father
Father
Joachim.
Kim Balasiadis,
Oh.
but he didn't stay very long.
No.
Yeah, it was about
Yeah.
a year, I think. And then Father Gallus, I think, came
Gallus,
after that.
yeah, he stayed a long time.
Father
Yeah.
Gallus was long.
Yes.
He was my mentor, especially. That's what I remember. He was a kind, gentle guy. He had
Very
a little
kind.
cap too. He you could go to his house, and if he was in his bath, he'd answer the door in his bathrobe, and there was a bunch of kids, and he'd still invite you in. He was a spectacular man. He was really spectacular.
And when you say mentor, what exactly do you mean?
Because you could go to him for anything, you could talk to him. It was fairly easy. He was easily approachable. He was
Yeah.
wonderful in that context.
And you did have a choir, right, at the time?
Yeah, yeah, did we ever? I joined
Oh,
it.
no.
I joined
Yes.
it. This is a good story.
Yes.
It might be a good story, who knows? But the story goes, we see the kids. You have an aversion to Sunday school. You understand that?
Yes,
of
yes,
course.
yes.
When you're young, you have an aversion to Sunday school. So I believe it was like Jimmy Hunter and other kids like us. We would find places like the annex to the bathroom. You'd come down the stairs, and there was a little bathroom there, and there's an annex to the bathroom. You could hide in there. And then, or you could hide behind the curtains in the stage in the back end. There was also the parish house, which is right on the green, and you could find one of the rooms that wasn't being used, and perhaps you could, if you were quiet enough, you
Because
could
that
do
was
it.
our Sunday
The
school at
problem
the
is
time.
Yes.
the problem is the church fathers found all these hiding places. So now, so now you had to you had actually with the Sunday school. So I had this brilliant idea, since I could sing a little. Why don't I join the choir? It's much more fun.
Okay.
And I went to my mom. I said, "Mom, I want to join the choir." I was 13. And so she says, "Okay." Years later, I told her, I only did that to get out of Sunday school. She says, "I know." So I just wanted you in
Yes,
church.
yes.
I just wanted you in church.
Yeah.
So I went to the choir. I went to Mr. Savas and Jim Savas,
Yes.
and he was the choir director for 50 years, 40
Correct,
years,
yes, I have-
45 years, I think it was.
The whole time.
And he was a terrific guy.
Very
too.
well
He was
respected,
Very,
yes.
very well. Oh, wonderful man too. And he says, "Okay." He gave me 2 stanzas to sing. So I sang the 10. He says, "Okay, go sing bass." I'm 13 years old.
Wow.
13 and a half.
Yes.
So anyway, because he didn't have any bass, he only had George Streamus, who was a wonderful bass, by the way, and Jim DeMarcus standing next to him. A year later, we're short on tenors. There weren't too many. There was the Savas, the three, Jim's 3 sisters, his brother-in-law, himself obviously.
Right.
There was
It was
Christine
the
Sika's.
Savas
I'm
family.
trying to think. It was Savas family that
Right.
formed the core of the choir. We didn't have that many voices. So a year later, there was an individual and his father and son who were going to the church that was up on Glen Road there. And they realized there was a church there, so they came one Sunday, heard the choir, and they wanted to join the choir. They didn't know not one Greek word, not even a Greek letter. But they took the phonetics, and honestly, God, they both sang
That's a
tenor.
great story.
It was
Oh.
wonderful.
If we heard of an organization that needed money, or a hospital or a charity, we
Right.
donated to that. And of course, we donated to the diocese and the archdiocese. That was standard, we had to pay that. So that's,
What do you think, Helen and Peter and John, what do you think made this parish special?
the people.
Yeah. The
The
willingness
people.
to do it. The willingness.
This do we-
Without
Yeah,
the
the willingness.
people,
They
it
wanted
wouldn't-
it to succeed. If you want something to
Succeed.
succeed, it's like almost any other organization. It starts with an organism, and then
We were-
the people
Yes.
put a
We
great
were
deal
the
of effort.
first church that I know of to have a coffee hour after our liturgy.
I heard that,
The
yes.
first one.
Yes.
And I remember we started that even before. At one of the meetings, we borrowed a big coffee pot from, I don't know who,
Yes.
I don't remember the person who, it was Oh, probably not Strunaris, but what was her name?
The discus.
The Discus. So we borrowed a big coffee pot, and Helen Magris, Kay Markin, whom you have not met yet, and I decided, well, we would serve the coffee because the meetings it was so cold. There was no heat in that church at all.
Really?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, we'd sit there and we would want to wear mittens on our feet. It was so cold. Anyway, and my husband brought the pastry, made all the pastry. So we served coffee and pastry, and everybody thought it was such a wonderful, this was at a meeting, and everybody thought it was such a wonderful idea. We decided to do this after every service, after every, and in this way, we would nominate one person to be like the welcomer.
Right.
Who, if you see a stranger, go over, talk to him, welcome them to our church, ask them if they'd like to be members.
That was
And-
their marketing strategy.
Yeah.
If
Very
you see a
straightforward,
stranger,
absolutely.
welcome them in
Yes.
and get new members.
Yeah.
Anyone who had deep pockets and wanted to
Yeah.
contribute money to the church.
I remember one day we went shopping with my husband. We were looking for a lamp for our living room. And we walked into this store in Brookline. And my husband saw a couple. And he says, those people are Greek.
Greek, yes.
You heard that story,
No,
too?
but did you approach them?
Oh, my husband was the first one he ran over. He says, can I ask you a question? So I said, yes, of course. He said, are you Greek? And he said, yes. He says, talk to me in Greek.
Yeah. Great.
So he said, well, I just wanted to tell you, I don't know if you've heard about our new church. And at the time, they were going to Watertown.
Ah.
So she said, well, she wasn't too happy. She said, well, Watertown needs the people too. So Chris says, Watertown is a very big parish, and always will be. Ours is a tiny parish, and we need people to support it, to join. We're all friends there.
Yes.
And I think that sort of struck a note, because the following Sunday, we went out for coffee, and we saw these people walk in, and I poked Chris. I said, Chris, those are the people you met. So he ran to them.
Oh, what
He was a
great.
wonderful ambassador.
Yeah, he was a good
was.
ambassador, he was.
He
Yeah.
was. He
To
was.
the end, he would ask you, where do you go to church?
Yeah.
Yes.